All right, guys. So there's really no. We don't have an agenda. We don't have any questions. So if you guys are free to ask whatever you want, and nothing is off the table. If you can, I mean, my question for him is obviously, Jason, how tall are you? He's 6'3". Jason is 6'3". How do you feel like working in an office where?
Did you turn it off?
Am I on? That mic on?
Check. Yeah. Okay. How do you feel like bringing the average height of the office up by like 5 inches?
Well, I'll be helping you guys in a variety of ways, but that's one of the ways. Yeah.
raising the bar all around.
Yeah.
You guys are free to grab out your phones and Google most embarrassing questions to ask in a job interview. Okay, that's also a good option. Let's all get settled and we'll start. Okay. All right. Let me pray for us, and then we'll start this thing off. Let's pray. Lord, we thank you for this time. We pray, Lord, that your Spirit would be working in this room, that you'll bring us the questions to ask, that you'll give Jason wisdom and grace as he answers. And Lord, let's just really see each other's hearts through this time, Lord. Please do your will. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, questions for Jason. Oh, Alyssa, I know you've got a question for him, don't you? No? Okay, you think about it, because I'm going to come back to you later. Anyone have a question for Jason? What do you do for fun, Jason? That was a question.
What do I do for fun? That's actually a longer question than you think it is. Over the years, I've actually been really questioned on that a lot, because I just do ministry, and so ministry and watch football, and it's kind of what I do. And a while back, I got challenged on that, and said, Jason, you really need a hobby. And so I went out and I bought a dirt bike, and which was just a lot of fun, and rode it around. But then when we were in Hermiston, you didn't know this. When we were in Hermiston, it got stolen. So that's where there went my fun. There went my fun. Yeah, I really, Lisa and I have a really great marriage. God just blessed us with one of those. If I could be doing, something, hanging out with Lisa, so we spend a lot of time together. We walk a lot, and her job's very difficult, and she's a high school chemistry teacher, and in a really, really rough. So we just talk, walk and talk and things like that. But that's really that, and watch football. Those are really the things that do a lot. So.
Very good. Any other questions? Who's next? Zoe, you have one?
Am I your favorite?
Zoe, are you my favorite?
To make fun of.
Oh, to make fun of. Oh, yes. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We had last time I was here. Yeah, you were riding shotgun in the bus, right? We went through Panda Express, and yeah, I wouldn't make so much fun of you. It wasn't so much fun. So it was really fun. Thank you for letting me do that. I felt better about myself walking away from that, which was important. So that's good. Yeah. So thank you for being a target. Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Let's ask a question. Raise your hand. Steve always got heavy-hitting questions.
I'm giving everybody a chance to ask their questions first, and I'll evaluate.
Good. Your mask is upside down, by the way. Questions.
He's right. The flame is going down. I don't know what that means, but it's coming from heaven.
Someone ask a question. Dara, you got a. Dara's first.
Oh, okay. So I actually have a question more for maybe Mark and Trevor and Jason as well. But so as long as we've been here, there was a stint of a full-time youth person, but most of the time it's been a part-time sort of thing, or you guys taking on that responsibility. So I'm just curious, what does this look like now for 3, paid staff as pastors? How will your individual roles either change? What will Jason? I read the job description, but I guess kind of maybe a high-level job description. Will things be changing for Trevor and Mark? Where will you be focusing now that we'll be bringing on someone else? Just kind of high level.
Well, I think one thing that this does is for Mark and myself, a lot of when we started concentrating on the youth about 2.5 years ago after the Jesse thing, certain things just had to go kind of by the wayside, and some of the stronger parts of the ministry that were strong at that point in time, we kind of let those be on their own a little bit more so we can concentrate more on the youth. And anytime you're doing that, it's going to cause holes in other places. And we really feel like now it's going to allow us kind of, Mark and myself, to go back to our original job descriptions more strongly, and Jason come and fill in those gaps with the youth, and then we're going to be able to fill up the gaps with for instance, young families, small groups, some of these other things that have carried on, but haven't had the attention that they were having before all this took place. So I think this will help us to be properly staffed to be able to handle those things a lot more efficiently, to be able to fill those gaps a lot better, to concentrate more on the things that we were originally hired to do. So I'm really excited about that possibility. So did I answer your question? Maybe Mark can add to that.
Well, yeah, for me, over the last 2 years, because we've been doing high school and middle school for 2 years now, it's felt like to me that, I mean, we love the kids, don't get us wrong. We really enjoy our time there, but I was talking to my wife about this a couple months ago, and I was saying it is such an emotional output to try to divide yourself amongst all these areas. Sometimes I'm like, I don't have anything left for some of the other stuff. And I think the biggest thing for me that I perceived that we've let slip is a lot of the adult ministry. Meeting with families, meeting with men, young families, holding those things together. I gave up my young adult Sunday school class 2 years ago so we could do stuff with youth on Sunday mornings instead. Things like that. And it started to show, I'd say this last year, as relationships, with all this COVID stuff, some relationships with people in the church started to get strained, and we realized that, like, oh, you know what? We're not as close to that family as we should have been. We missed this problem that they're going through, and I wish we'd been there for them to help walk through it. Things like that. So really putting our focus on a lot more of the adult interactions.
Well, and now too with Sid moved away during COVID, and so he was the leader of the senior class, the seniors, and that's going to need attention. There's a lot of things that's going to free us up to be able to do and minister. So yeah.
Okay, Kelly?
I was just curious, what are some of the things that you like to do most with the youth, and that from your just over the years working with them? Like the things that you're looking forward to doing perhaps with this youth group and middle school and high school, either service related or just good fun times or...
Right. So here's my story. So been involved in ministry for a long time, probably about 25 years now, and so we've had the opportunity to do over the years to do just really fun things, and really have kind of built from scratch. There wasn't a ton there. Youth ministries in 3 different churches, I suppose, if you want to include the one in Chillicothe, but that was already kind of going. So to do that. All 3 of those churches were different. They really were. And so I don't know if I necessarily can look right now and have a prescriptive idea of like, hey, this is what we're going to be about. Obviously, the gospel, there's some tools there. So the gospel is going to be central. Christ is going to be central to everything that we do for that. So saying all of that, so each youth group's been kind of different. Some of the things that I have just loved over the years is kind of a philosophy of the longer that you can be consecutively with young people, it seems to me the more effective that is. So you can do some things on youth group night, so an hour and a half, 2 hours with young people, right, and have this amount of effectiveness. But if you can get them on a retreat, okay, that typically by the time you get past hour 6 or 7 or something like that, most young people can't hide in their shell that long, right? You're going to get to some real stuff by the time you get about 6 or 7 hours into that. And so a retreat has a great benefit to it. But even better, now if you can get them on on a longer period of time, like say a missions trip or something like that for 2 weeks or even 3 weeks, even the toughest nuts to crack, even the hardest kids to work with, by the time they get in 4 or 5 days, they can't take it anymore, and you get the real person. They can't hide anymore, and you get very real. So there's some themes there that I would say that I really enjoy getting kids, young people away, right? And so I love retreats. I love service projects. I love missions trips. All of those type of things. That doesn't mean that we're not going to run youth group, because that's a vital part of what we're doing. But as for really doing ministry and inspiring kids to follow Jesus and all of that, that's probably what I've noticed has been some of the most effective things that we've done. And time is the deal. Time is the deal, and the longer time that you can have, the better. And sometimes, I want to have those times where they're scripted and we're doing something with purpose, But the underlying thing is, even if we had them for 2 weeks and we're doing absolutely nothing, there is actually a great benefit to just simply having them for 2 weeks without anything. Now, obviously, we're going to have purpose in what we're doing. We're going to be on a mission trip or something like that. But just the simple concept of being together, for an extended period of time is greatly beneficial spiritually. So those are some of the effectiveness things that I've noticed.
And by the way, he's talking about hobbies earlier. He actually has another hobby he didn't mention, and that's roller coasters, right?
I do have one now.
He loves roller coasters.
That's true.
Yeah, Jason, I was just maybe a bit of a takeoff from your sermon as far as ministry goes and serving. I'm thinking in today's culture, how in your position and along with the rest of us, in today's culture, how do we best come along, parents and youth, in trying to help them see Jesus as being relevant in today's culture, and so that their faith maybe lasts beyond high school and into the years following?
Boy, there's a lot there. Well, let me tackle a couple of principles first of all. I do believe that God has given young people to the parents that they have for a reason, and so my role as a youth pastor is not to step in and play parent. Okay, my job and my role is to be obviously a significant adult spiritual leader in that young person's life, but I'm not to replace the parent. That's the parent's role. Now, saying all of that, that's a very idealistic way of seeing that. The reality of the world that we live in is that a lot of young people are coming in with some very difficult situations that they're working with. The public school system that my wife's dealing with, same issue, right? They're raising kids is really what they're doing, and so that really complicates things. So there's a principle that we live by. You also asked, is in the future, okay? And so let me just identify a couple of things right there. What you talk about is what I identify as what I call the ministry black holes, okay? So typically people would identify right out of high school as a ministry black hole, right? You hear the statistics, young people falling off and falling away from the church. Well, I would even present and say that that's even a bigger issue than just simply that. I think in my world, the youth ministry world, there's actually 4 huge ministry black holes. One of them is, depending on where your junior high lies, between the 5th and 6th grade. There's one between the 9th and 10th, between the 8th and 9th grade, so they're coming into high school, is a fall off. And then a big unidentified one is between sophomore and junior years. They're going into their junior year in high school, is a huge fall off that doesn't get identified. And then obviously the classic one when they get out of high school. So when I say fall off, they fall away from the Lord, church becomes irrelevant. And what I would propose to do is kind of institute a program of what I would call, or I would label as upward momentum, right? One of the reasons why young people fall off is because there's nothing ahead of them. They're not being inspired. They just come to youth group, okay? And so that's why the sophomore, junior one is a typical one. And as I look at, of course, working in Chillicothe with the youth groups there, it's the same deal. You go and you look at the youth group, there's a lot of freshmen and sophomore, and then the juniors and seniors are all too busy. And then there's a big fall off, and they become disinterested to that. So upward momentum looks like continually putting stuff in front of them that is new and challenging that they didn't have the opportunity to do before. Okay, so we do a big promotion. They're coming up into junior high. That's a big thing, okay? There's a lot of things that you can do in junior high that you can't do in the kids ministry, okay? Coming into the senior high, 8th grade to 9th grade, you all of a sudden can now go on mission trips, which is a huge deal, a big thing. So they're looking forward to that. Sophomore to junior year, you give them the opportunity to start serving in the youth group. Typically, that's the earliest that they can go in and be on youth staff to go and work with the junior high. So now that they're a junior in high school, again, upward momentum, okay? Then when they go away to college, you encourage them to come back and continue to serve in the student ministry as now senior high volunteers. So again, you're constantly putting something in front of them and so that they've got a challenge. I think one of the reasons why young people fall away from the Lord is they're bored. They become disinterested. God becomes irrelevant to them. So I want to put stuff and challenges in front of them that are exciting and new for them and they haven't experienced before, and push them out of the nest a little bit and put them in situations that they've never been in that frankly some of them are actually unequipped to do. That's a very messy ministry, by the way. I like that, okay? I can deal with the mess. What I can't deal with is young people falling away from the Lord at droves. I'd rather deal with the mess, and the mess inside of the church. That's great. The church is a great opportunity and a proving ground to run young people through this process. I do not know if that answered your question, but why don't you ask me some more questions and see if I hit on that? Did I?
Well, you know what part of I think those are really good answers and definitely. Maybe all of us would be interested in pursuing some of those gaps and all of that. I think specifically one of the things that I've seen is that a lot of kids are not necessarily prepared to deal especially when they leave home, go to college, are not necessarily prepared to deal with other worldviews.
Okay.
That sound really good. And I mean, I love the upward mobility and responsibilities and opportunities. I think that I wonder how, or is it possible to address that in those high school years to introduce other worldviews so that they're prepared once they leave home?
Wonderful. So, okay, now I understand your question. Thank you for clarifying that. So, when we do that, one of the things that I've noticed is that I know that a lot of parents think that young people talk too much. I actually believe the opposite. I actually think that young people listen too much. They're listening to their teachers. They're listening to their iPods. I don't call them iPods anymore. Shoot, what do you call them these days? I don't even know. Phones? What phones? Sorry. They're pretty out of touch here. Sorry. Whatever they do, the record player that they listen to. Anyway, they listen to that. They listen to the TV. They listen all day long. And when it comes time for them to actually engage in a topic, they're unequipped to do that because all they've done is just listen. It's kind of a robotic. And so one of the things that we do in youth group, we'll do this every week. I'm actually prepared to do it. It depends on what we can do for youth group. But one of the things we'll do in youth group, junior, senior, high, across the board, whatever we do, is I always do what we call question of the week or thought of the week. And I just put this random question up in front. But the challenge is that as they get into groups, that they have to walk through this question. They're usually fairly abstract, right? And so I'll have them walk through. But the challenge is that it's typically a length of time. And they have to keep talking, right, amongst themselves until the time is up. So I won't let them stop talking. Keep talking. keep engaging. And it's really interesting what happens in that process of them interacting together. So what we're doing is, in a safe Christian church environment, we're teaching them how to interact with issues. And typically they're abstract. But then we go further than that, and the discipleship groups that we will put together will kind of come from that same platform. So the questions that we ask are not the typical Sunday school questions where it's a fill in the blank. There's a variety of right answers. The point is to get them talking with each other, and then teach and train our youth staff how to ask questions. We're gonna teach our youth staff to talk less. Actually, we're gonna teach our youth staff to listen more and to ask more questions. And they say how to do that. I said, keep asking questions. So they say, what do you think about what do you think about Muslims? Well, I don't know. Instead of stopping there, we're going to teach our youth staff to go, why? Why don't you know? And keep asking questions. And don't let them stop. Just keep asking questions. Get inside their head and going, what's going on? So yes, it is Steve, it is incredibly messy ministry, and I love it, right? But I want them interacting with difficult, tough issues. I want them doing that, and we will. We will interact with difficult issues. Again, it comes back to that length of time thing. If I've got them for a retreat, wow, we can really tackle heavy issues, and I don't mind. We'll put them in front of them. What do you think of we'll get them in front of a retreat, sit them all down, and get them into 10 people in a group and a good trained youth staff, and we'll go for it. We'll go, what do you think of the gay community? And stop. And just stop and listen, and see what they think, and be surprised what you get, out of that. Walk them through that process, So that's how I would handle it.
Any other questions?
I love that last question, Steve, and answer, Jason. Thank you. I'm just wondering how you see volunteer work and parental involvement. What do you like to see from us?
Yeah, I think when we come on, I'm an island. I'm just going to fire everybody and just run the youth ministry completely by myself. I don't need any help whatsoever. So my plan is to lock me in this church with 100 screaming junior hires, and whatever happens, happens. So is that okay? Great. You know what, guys, just to be flat honest with you, I am getting older. I really am, and it's okay.
How old are you?
How old? You don't want to know how old. I'm 50. I will be the oldest staff pastor here. I will be, yeah. I think that's awesome. That's very cool. Youth staff are incredibly vital. They really are. And so we'll take anybody. I don't, here's how I look at youth staff. We don't, there's enough of me to go around. Some people try to find youth staff that are exactly like them and think like them and things like that. I don't like that at all. There's enough of me to go around. I need diversity. I need people who have different personalities than I do. That's a good thing. That helps us to reach a broader variety. So I love a lot of variety on the youth staff in the way of personalities. But again, we're gonna teach and train youth staff how to ask questions and how to get young people talking. That's what we want. We want young people talking and doing all of that. So yeah. Uh-huh.
I am just curious, if you think over the last month or so, how much one-on-one time do you integrate with your youth? It would be glorious to get everybody away if we went to family camp for a month.
A month?
But no, but I mean, it would be awesome to have long stretches of time to spend with students until they crack, and like you had alluded to, that we can only hide so long. But I'm interested in the discipleship, interest of discipleship, or how do you give yourself opportunities to meet with students one-on-one, and what does that look like?
Yeah, great question. Think about this for a second. One of the things that I've noticed in student ministry is there are some youth pastors that try to be all things to all people all the time. And what happens is they tend to spread themselves really, really thin. And they fail at that. They really do. And so what happens is they, in trying to minister to all people all the time, they end up doing a really lousy job. So I really like the idea of teaching, training, mentoring youth staff, and bringing them up. I would much rather have. Oh my goodness, I'm trying to figure out how I want to tackle this. I apologize. Do you see the smoke coming out of my ear as my brain is working? So I want to depend on good, qualified, trained youth staff to be directly involved in young people's lives. And I think it is incredibly important that process takes place. Now, saying that, if I involve myself personally in every young person's life, what will happen is our youth group will reach a certain amount numerically, 20, 25, because that's about how many I can handle. But if I can replicate myself into youth staff, it gives us an expansion point beyond what I can do. And so I think I see my role is, yes, being personally involved in the young people's lives, but also at the same time multiplying myself into youth staff so that they're personally involved in their lives. That's the growth model. Kind of like when Jesus had his disciples and then he had the crowd. You know, even the story that we talked about today, Jesus just took 3, with him. Well, maneuvering through that is really difficult as a youth pastor. To try to pick what 3, you're going to have and you're going to do is very difficult to do. So that's why multiplying myself into people to do that. I feel like I'm not making a ton of sense here. Here's where this comes into play. Okay, I would much rather. Though I don't mind, going to a kid's game or going to a match or something like that, going to watch a young person in our youth group, at a ball game or something like that. I would much rather send a youth staff to go do that. That's where the rubber meets the road, and for the connection to be with that youth staff rather than for the connection to be with me. Right? Does that make sense?
You're answering.
Yeah, I know I'm answering. Oh, boy, I'm trying to figure out what I'm trying to do there. I don't think I'm making a lot of sense. Anyway, I think that's my answer to your question. I want to multiply myself the best I can into other people. And if it means that sometimes I need to step back just a little bit and be a little bit less personally involved in young people's lives, then that's okay by me. But it doesn't necessarily have to be that way.
Okay, so we're small potatoes here so far, and so if our youth group, let's say high school, and I have no idea what I'm talking about right now, but
well, clearly I don't either. So
let's say there's 15 kids, would that still be your approach, or is one-on-one just not your thing, or?
No. Don't get me wrong. One-on-one is my thing, and I love to do that, but. We would hope to grow it beyond that. And so in order to do that, I understand if I alienate youth staff, right, and go, this is just me in these kids' lives, okay? We limit our youth group is what we do, and I don't want to do that, all right? So I'm constantly, but at the same time, I'm also working as an example. So I'm one-on-one with kids all the time, right? But then I've got people that are doing the same thing, in the student ministry as they get involved in that. Yeah.
Okay, we've lost a good number of our people, so let's make this our last question. We're over half an hour right now, so.
Jason, in your experience, longtime youth leader, working in the church, you've had a moment, maybe many moments, that kind of defined your life in that role. You had life-defining moments, possibly, and something's coming to mind right now, something that clicked either for the positive or negative in that task of working with youth or working within the body of the church. Why don't you relay a story?
Let me ask that a different way. Has there ever been a point in youth ministry where I felt like, wow, this is it? This is really about as good as it gets. I do think of a point. It was not that long ago. It was 2014, and we had done a big trip down into Dinuba, California, and we did that. And I remember we were with the kids, and there, and Lisa's there, and we had great youth staff and all that type of stuff. And we just our integration with the kids and working with the kids was just an amazing time. And we did that. And we of course, I love roller coasters. We ended the trip, and we had gone and rode roller coasters, and I just love taking kids on roller coasters and watch them just scream. But it's so fun. But I remember coming back from that trip, and we had kind of a debrief time a little bit, and we posed the question. We said, okay, what would you rather be doing? Would you rather be doing the physical work in Dinuba, California? We were processing peaches, is what we were doing, or would you rather be at Magic Mountain riding roller coasters? And a lot of the kids said, I'd had more fun right there carving out peaches. It did, because of the fellowship and the camaraderie. And I remember telling all of them, going, guys, I'm not sure that I can give you a better picture of how the church is supposed to work and function than what we just experienced right there. It was pretty good. And I think the kids that were on that trip, my kids were on that trip. Rachel and Ryan were at any rate. Something just happened there. It just clicked. It worked, and it was just true church, is what it was. But as clear as you could get church. Young people just loving on each other and working hard. It was just a really good time, and I think of that particular story. So I hope that helps you. Yeah.
Okay, so to honor everybody's time, and because it's lunch soon, and the Seahawks are ever playing in about an hour, we're gonna let's have another follow-up meeting. We have a follow-up meeting on Tuesday night for young families, and then maybe next Sunday we could do like a Zoom meeting or something like that for everyone else who wants to jump in.
Yeah, stay tuned for we'll be getting the word out of what we're going to do Sunday. We haven't had a chance to sit down as elders and try to figure out a plan yet. So that all kind of came up suddenly. So stay tuned for how we're going to work out next Sunday and obviously the Sunday after that, but definitely the Sunday. So.
Okay, thank you very much, Jason. Appreciate your time. Thank you everyone for your questions. I'll see you guys all next time we see you. Thank you.
That's a fact. We'll see you the next time we see you.